you should now have 4 pattern papers ready for our art project today. We will be making an animal in a similar way to what we did in our live lesson, where we took all of our small shapes and created different things using our imagination. But instead of using these shapes, we're going to be using our pattern papers instead. So just like we did during the class, you're going to need to make a couple strips. Don't do strips for the whole thing, because you might decide later that you want a different shape for some of your pieces. If you have an animal in mind, you can make some certain shapes that might work better for your animal. I think I'm going to make a giraffe with my animal. So I want to have some longer pieces that might work as a neck, more rectangular pieces because the body and the legs are also very rectangular as well, but I will probably need some different shapes for that. And I want to make sure I use some of each of my patterns. So I think I'll start with a strip from each of my pieces of paper. And if you don't have an animal in mind, that's okay. Start by making some shapes and see what you can come up with. Another thing you can do is, while you're arranging your shapes, you can pick out a color paper that you think will show your designs nicely. We're just going to use one of our color construction papers from our art kit. You can decide what color. So like I said, I think I'm going to need a body for my animal. And since I'm going to do a giraffe, it's probably going to be pretty rectangular. And then I think this might be a fun neck, but it's obviously way too big and long. So I might cut it down a bit more. And I think I'll cut off part of the edge here too. And I can always use this maybe for a tail or some other details in my picture if I think that might work. So I think I'll probably cut it off here. Now I'm measuring with my eye and my scissors. And then for the head, I could use the other part of this paper. Now, I'm not going to glue anything until I'm completely done. I'm noticing that I don't have as much space for the legs as I thought I would, so I might need to make my animal a little smaller. I'll cut the body down a bit more. Maybe I'll make my head a little more like a triangle or a tapered shape. So it looks a little more like a head. And then if you want to use your spare pieces to, maybe I could draw a tree or make a sun in the sky with some of the other parts of my paper. So that's one reason why you shouldn't glue your animal first, because you can see I decided to use more of my pattern to make a ground pattern too, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'd already glued my legs down. I was able to move the legs, put the pattern underneath, and then put my legs back on top. Once you have an animal down that you think works, and again, you don't have to have it planned. You could have a whole bunch of shapes and arrange them in different ways and decide what animal you like the best. Then you can start to glue. You can use a glue stick or you can use a glue bottle, whatever you have available. Remember to glue the things on the bottom layer first. So in other words, I'm going to need to glue that first because the legs are on top of it. You want to make sure you put glue along the edges of your paper. I'm leaving a little bit of space so it doesn't squirt out. But if you only put one strip in the middle, then you're gonna get paper that peels and curls up. But if I do a little border like this, it's not going to curl up on me. After I glue it, I'm gonna hold it down, count in my head a little bit to help the glue kind of stick to the two pieces of paper and hold it together. If I just pat it down, it might not stay. My hand is helping the glue work better. And then before I do the legs, since I have stuff on top of the body, I should glue the body next. I'm gonna edge these off and glue my body. I'm not moving the whole thing off my paper because then I might forget where things go. I'm just nudging things out of the way. It kind of helps me not lose my place. With something this thin, I probably can't do a border. I'll just do a little wiggly line, and that'll work for thinner shapes. Now, as your picture dries, things might start to curl up again, so you can use your fingers to kind of tap it back down if anything curls up. And once you're finished, you need to set this aside so that it can dry. Don't forget to save your extra scraps, both the pattern paper and if you still have your construction paper scraps. We are going to use all of these materials again in our next project in a few weeks. So keep them handy, maybe put them in a Ziploc bag, or you can use your art mat. I've decided to use my art mat because I already have this more as a folder to keep my stuff in so it doesn't get lost. So if that's something else you'd like to do, you could do that as well. But keep these safe. It will give you more of a variety to choose from when we do our next project. If you already threw some of this away, it's okay, we can make more. But if you haven't, save it.